Okay, good. All right, so this is going to be something that you're going to be dealing with in your classes. Put your phones down, okay? Above my head it says linear equations, right? So we talked about how linear means line, and equation is a sentence. Oh, follow me, man. Yeah. All right. Black and yellow? What you know about black and yellow?
Everything.
Black and yellow. You like the 10 Steelers? Is it Steelers? Who's black and yellow? Steelers? Who was it? It was whatever the team was. That's who he's talking about. Okay, so linear equations, line. Whenever you see linear, it means line. You see equation, it's a sentence that has an equal sign in it. All right, so if the word equation means a sentence that has an equal sign in it, what do we call this?
Not equal.
Not equal, right? All right, so what's this?
Less than.
Less than. Let's say that we have B and we have P. Then we say B is less than P.
Or P is greater than B.
Or P is greater than B, right? So it's not equal, it's a inequality, right? So whenever we have an inequality, it's not going to be an equation. But that's advanced. That's advanced. Okay. All right. I just wanted to hit you back, take you back in the day. All right. So a linear equation is going to be an equation, which is a sentence that has an equal sign in it, and we're dealing with lines. So this is the most famous or the biggest or the one that you got to remember the most linear equation. All right. We call this what form? Slope intercept form. Right. Right. Slope intercept form. Intercept. I might spell it wrong. I can spell form though. So slope intercept form. Where's the slope? What letter is the slope? The L. And what's the Y-intercept? What letter?
Y.
No, B.
B. Right. I know that's kind of confusing. But so let's go over what this all means. Y. When we deal with Y, remember when we deal with coordinates, we have an X and we have a Y. Right? So when we talk about the Y in slope intercept form, the Y is the Y coordinate, the Y value, the Y number. The M is the slope, the X is the X value, or the X coordinate, and the B would be the Y-intercept. Okay, so what's the Y-intercept? Let's say we have a line. Here's our X-axis, here's our Y-axis. Remember, this is Y, this is X. Did I say it backwards?
Yes.
I said it backwards. Good catch. All right, so this is our Y-axis. This is our X-axis. And let's say we have a line that starts here and goes up. So our Y-intercept is where this line intercepts or connects or crosses the Y-axis. Now, what number that is, I don't know. Let's see. Let's go ahead and number. We'll go by twos. 2, 4, 6, 8. That'll be 2. That'll be 4. That'll be 6. So our Y-intercept, the X value for the Y-intercept is 0, right? And our Y is 4. The Y value is 4. So the Y-intercept, 0, 4. Does this kind of remind you of something we dealt with last year?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Kaylee, You're looking like you're sure, but you're not sure. Are you more sure or more not sure?
In between.
In between? Okay. All right. What part seems to be unsure?
Like the graph.
The graph. My graph is janky. All right, so excuse my janky graph. But just keep in mind, going up and down is going to be your y-axis. Going left and right is going to be your x-axis. And if I had a real graph, it would look a little cleaner. But the important piece that we're working with now is the slope is how we go from one point to another point. That's the slope. And since it's a linear equation, it's going to be a straight line. Okay? The B is the y-intercept, and that's where it crosses the y-axis. So if I wanted to find out what our slope really was, let's do this. We'll make that 2, 4, 6. All right, so I'm here at, oh, well, that's going to be 2, 4, 6. Is that 8? We'll say that's an 8. I'm going from 8, and here's my other point right here. So I'm going to go up. Ooh, can I run out of colors? Let me run out of it. Okay. So I have my rise and my run. And that's my slope. My slope is up or down and to the right. Does that look familiar? Okay. So let's figure out what the slope is for this. All right, so I went up, let's see, 1, 2, ooh. This is actually 2, I'm skip counting. So I shouldn't say 1, 2. I should say 2, 4, 6, 8, 12. So I went up 12 spaces. How did I go up 12 and I'm skip counting? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12.
Wait. 2, 2.
I should not have gone with 2, 4, 6, 8.
That should be 10.
That should be 10?
2, 4.
2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Oh, should be 10. Okay. And then I went over. I'm right here actually. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. We'll call it 14. We'll call it 14. All right, so my rise, I went up how many? 10. And this is janky. Once again, this is not accurate. It's not perfectly written. What's my run? I went over how many?
14.
14. All right, so my M, my slope, is 10 over 14. Divide by what?
2.
All right, now I want to simplify. All right, so 10 and 14, I can divide by 2. Anytime you see a even number, you can always divide an even number by 2. 10 is an even number. 14 is an even number. So I know automatically off the rip, I can divide by 2. So if I divide 10 into 2, if you had your calculator, and you divided 10 into 2, it's going to give you 5. And divide 14 by 2 is going to give me 7. So my slope for this would be 5 over 7. All right, so this is a quick reminder on slope. How many minutes have I gone?
9.
I was trying to get it done in 5. Okay. All right, so we went over we went over slope intercept form.
No, that graph you're not getting it done in 5.
Slope formula. I want to skip that one. But the piece that I want to tap into right now is when we're looking at y equals mx plus b, the x is going to be called the independent, and the y is going to be called the dependent. Mr. Berry's going to talk about this today. Miss if you had Brewer last year, we didn't go into this really deep. But X is going to be called the independent value, and X is going to be called the dependent value. All right, so let's look at it this way. My kids and I are going on a trip. Okay? This is 10 years ago, because my kids don't even want to hang out with me now. My daughter moved to Chicago, my son is working. So let's say 10 years ago, we went on a family trip. They were depending on me to make a decision on where to go. I independently made a decision. Hey, we're gonna go to Burger King, pick up some burgers. They dependently went to Burger King and picked up some burgers. I was the independent person. I was the one that was making the decision, and based on my decision, they had to roll with it. They had to participate. So it's the same thing with X and Y. Depending on what X is, Y has to go. Y is going to be based on whatever X does. Let me see if I can give a different example. Who can give me a different example of what I just talked about using the terms independent and dependent? Here's another one. My parents were going to buy Christmas gifts. My brother and I were teenagers. My brother, sister, and I were teenagers. And so they said, you can choose whatever gifts you want us to buy up to $100. Now, this was 30 years ago, so $100 was a big thing back then. $100 is nothing now, but $100 was a big thing then. Who set the parameter? Who set the price point?
Your mom.
My parents did, right. Based on the price point, I had to choose toys, games, clothes, up to $100. So I was the dependent variable. They were the independent variable. The independent variable sets the price. They set the terms. They make the decisions. And based on that, the dependent variable has to accept it. Does that make sense? Make sense, Storm? When we're talking about math, whatever the X is tells us what the Y is going to be. So if I make the X 5, then the Y is going to be whatever I plug in here. So the X leads the way, the Y has to follow. So if you keep in mind that the X is the independent, the Y is the dependent. Oh, here's a good example. If I said I had an ex-girlfriend, you know what that means, right?
Nope.
You kind of know what an ex-girlfriend or boyfriend or them friend is, right? Okay. I have an ex-girlfriend. She broke up with me. She set the terms. She's like, we ain't together no more. And based on that, I had to be the ex. I couldn't be like, no, you ain't breaking up with me. She said, we ain't going together no more. She was the ex. Based on that, I had to accept the fact that she was no longer my girlfriend. I was depending upon her decision, right? Like, I could have said, no, we ain't breaking up, but it didn't matter. Whatever she said, so the X person makes the decisions. The Y person just has to go with it. The X value makes the decisions. The Y value has to go with it. How does that go? Is that a little better? Okay. All right. By the way, that was the best decision that someone ever made for me. So, if somebody breaks up with you, it's just an opportunity for you to do better. It's an opportunity for you to do better. Matter of fact, I saw you do that last year. Now, I'm not saying that they broke up with you, but I'm saying every person I saw you hanging out with, dating or whatever it was better than the first one. Right?
We've been talking about that.
Well, okay. You may have regressed a little bit. I don't know. Summertime.
I'm good. I've been chilling. Like, I don't
Okay.
talk about it.
Nope.
Okay.
I ain't talking about it in a long time.
But what I saw last year is everyone was better. And my point was, if somebody breaks a relationship with you, I want you to accept it as an opportunity to get a better situation.
He is speaking facts.
Okay? All right, that makes sense? That makes sense. My car put me down. My car started having a lot of problems. I bought a new car. It's better. It's newer.
Nope, right there.
It drives, I mean, it's less gas mileage. And then I'm so much in a better position because my old car put me down. So in life, always do better. When something breaks away, always do better. All right, let's do one last thing. Oh, okay. Let's say we have, I'm gonna leave all of that up there. Let's say we have y equals 5x minus 1. What's my y-intercept? Jay, what's my y-intercept?
Your name
Why you have to call on me?
It's 5.
I called on you because I wanted to make sure that you were paying attention. That's why. So, if we use y equals mx plus b as our format, Jade, y equals 5x minus 1, what would be the y-intercept?
One.
What type of 1?
Negative.
Negative 1. Good job, Torrin. Good job, Jade. This is our y-intercept, okay? So, Jamel, what's our slope?
You said what?
What's our slope in this? You're right, Z. Ashanti, you just answered. You were right. You were right. Good. Kaylee, what's the slope in this linear equation?
Yeah.
Am I at 15 minutes?
You passed it.
All right, Jamel, what was your answer?
And it's for that, right?
The slope would be
Oh, 5.
5, right. So this is our slope. This is our y-intercept. Here's going to be the question. The question is, what's the slope value? The slope value is 5. All right? The slope value is 5. All right? If this was a real equation, based on what x is, y is going to move. Whatever x is the independent, y is the dependent. So I want you to be able to identify these parts. All right, let's go with another one very quickly. Let's see. We're still using y equals mx plus b. We're using that format. Let's say y equals 4. This is advanced.
0.
Man, what's the y-intercept? Y-intercept is 0. And so since it's 0, I don't have to write it. All right. What's the slope?
4, 0, 4.
The slope is zero. What? Is the slope
Negative
0?
4.
Slope is 0. Okay. Good. So we identified the y-intercept is 0. It's not even there. And we identified the slope, which is 4. So what's the slope value, Tyreek? Y-intercept is 0. The slope is 4. What's the slope value? Slope value is 4. When I say what's the slope or what's the slope value, I'm asking you the very same question. That makes sense? Okay, I'm boring you? Okay.
I'm just tired.
Okay. All right, and we'll do one more. Ashanti, you're gonna do this one. All right, so Ashanti, our slope is -3/2. Is it a positive slope or a negative slope? It's negative because there's a negative sign in front of it. All right, Torrin, what's our y-intercept? -7. And Brian, what's our slope value? Say it again.
-7.
That's the y-intercept. What's our slope value? Our slope. -3/2. Okay, so if you had Mr. Berry, we did something like this earlier. Who had Berry first? You two? So this kind of looks familiar? Okay. If you had Mr. Berry coming up, I think 5th period, we're going to do something like this. So you guys will be ahead of the game. Any questions?
I do have one question.
Okay.
Why is it that they always put the negative in front of the fraction? Like it's like I can't talk. The negative sign.
can stop it.
and then